for that. Yay, thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session with Pam and I today. Um, we are missing Alana, who's busy doing some cadet work, and Genesis with her family. So you have Pam and I today. So we'd like to welcome you because you found your way to the Sacred Wisdom Circle. Linked by the golden thread, we are lighthouses and beacons of truth, guiding the way. Through deep conversations and shared wisdom, we illuminate the path and heal through truth. So, welcome everyone, and we hope that this session today with us is informative, gives you something to think about, and something to really enjoy. Hi, Pam.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sacred Wisdom Circle. Missing you guys, missing Janice, missing Alana. And hopefully we can, leave the audience with some good information today and a joyous conversation.
I'm sure we will. Energy's been quite interesting. Today's the 20th. Saturn and Neptune are exactly conjunct, both at 0 degrees Aries today,
Oh,
which
isn't
is
that
going to be
interesting?
quite an interesting energy. Saturn being structure, organization. There's a higher level of functioning of Saturn as well, which brings in a level of it's that higher order functioning.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I know how to explain it, but I've just had quite an experience of it this week. And also Neptune is dreamy. Neptune is a little bit more out there. And so they seem to be contradictory energies, but they're actually not. The one complements the other. And what really surfaced for me this week was the infinity symbol and the oscillation of energies as we move through the infinity symbol. And so we can be very Saturnian and then shift into the dreamy Aquarius and have Saturn give it structure and then get a bit dreamy again and then give Saturn the opportunity to structure. That's the way to work with the energies as opposed to going into the either or polarity. So that's quite interesting. We've had a solar eclipse. We've had the beginning of the new zodiac year, so it's been quite a week
This
with
week
the energy.
energetically has been. And I think the infinity sign is a beautiful way of the ebbing and the flowing and just recognizing contrasts as well.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That whole polar opposite, but being able to, kind of flow within them is the best way to put it, back and forth
Yep.
and not have the attachment to it or the judgment to it.
Yep.
I've
Very so.
noticed very much for myself, it's that the most I think from a pragmatic look, procrastinating and, not getting caught up in the judgment around it. Okay, I'm being slowed down right now. What's going on? Right. And it's learning to ebb and flow. So I know
Yeah.
procrastination is something that's shown up for me a little bit this week. At the contrast of the busyness that I have had also. Right. So it's letting go of labels and judgment around it all.
Something that surfaced to me when you talking about contrast is that something that really struck home, and it came up with an example with my daughter yesterday, is that we can actually hold both energies at the same time. And that is, there was, without going into the story behind it, but I was a bit irritated with her. She was irritated with me. And then in amongst the irritation, we had such a beautiful tender moment around the fact that she's felt the baby for the very first time. But in that, she'd come up to me because her mother-in-law was here and there was a whole lot of people around. She put her arms around me and she said to me, Mom, there was no ways that I was going to share that without you being here. It wouldn't be fair. So we could hold that energy of being irritated with each other and share, not either or, but and share a very special moment at the same time. And I think that's one of the lessons. It brought home such a powerful lesson of being able to hold the energies that they don't define who we are. I feel irritation. I am not irritated as in the I am. And I can also share in a beautiful tender moment at the same time. And that was such a powerful lesson of holding contrast instead of trying to manage contrast.
And it's receiving it all, right? It's receiving
Yeah.
it all because it all, um, I don't want to say affects us. It's not the right word. Um, it's all a part of us. It's a part of the universe.
Yep.
right? So it's that oneness in everything. I'm having a struggle for words today, but it's that oneness with everything.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
I love that. I love that oneness and that element of not creating a divide within. Geez, even just with our emotions.
Yep. Yeah, what I relate to with what you're saying here is that we spend so much time, or we're schooled to spend so much time in the either or, in the opposites of duality, whereas the actual value of duality is exactly what you're saying, is bringing us into the union with both and rather than either or. And
Yes.
that's exactly what you are speaking to, is the fact that not only can we hold both, but that we are both. And it's not rejecting one in the favor of the other. It's not judging one in favor of the other. It's not good or bad. It's none of those value judgments that we are taught to place on things and how how we show up in the world. It's that beautiful space of the balance, that midpoint of the infinity symbol, where the
Yeah.
two kind of this, if you turn it upright, this figure eight,
Yeah.
at that meeting point in the middle.
And I
That's what it's.
sorry, Angela. Yes,
Yeah,
very much that. And it's that oneness within ourself that helps us to be at one with everything else.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
when we're disjointed within ourself, right, or disconnected to the polarities as a oneness, it's hard to be at one with everything else.
yeah. Absolutely agree with you. And that was another big thing. I mean, there's been the amount of learning that's happened this week has been on another level. Um, and it is around coming back to that point of it's we cannot be at one-ment with, we talk about atonement. If you break it up, it's at one-ment with the world if we're not at one-ment within ourselves. It just doesn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Such a beautiful feeling too. The peace
absolutely.
that it brings.
Yeah, and in amongst quite a lot of turmoil that's happening out in the world around us. And that's something else that came up for me, is that I have no control opinion on what's going on around me. I have none. All I do if I step into the drama of what's going on around is I leak my energy out into the already amorphous mass of chaos. The only thing that I do have any element of, and I wouldn't even say control over, because I've also realized we're in control of nothing. The only element that I have any level of discipline over is on my own inner empowerment. And if I'm not okay, I need to take the time out to rebalance and bring myself back into balance again so that I can engage from a space of the unity within me. And that's all. That is my responsibility, is to manage that state.
Absolutely. I love that, that inner state. And the term that you just used is really, and I can't, what was the term you used again? Sorry. Inner. She goes, I don't even remember. Oh, that's when universe is flowing. I
Yeah.
love that.
When it's come like this, I don't remember what I'm saying. Neither I know you don't either. It's just at one
Um,
mint. It was the at one mint. And that's just such a beautiful space to be. We talk about atonement, and then it's a case of, okay, we have to atone for our, in the typical more punitive type of Christian teachings, we have to atone for our sins. So no, the beauty when you break it up is the is that it's hidden in the word at-one-ment.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, the word sin is just missing the mark. It really is. And I mean, how we've been taught a lot of fear with the word sin
Yep. Yep.
over decades, the millennia actually, and even longer. So it's a whole element of really understanding. Yeah, we're going to miss the mark from time to time. We're human. To
Absolutely.
not miss the mark means we're not growing, to be
And
quite
we're not
honest,
learning. Yeah,
and we're not learning.
absolutely. Yeah. We can't grow unless we're learning, and we can't learn unless we're growing.
Absolutely. I used this last week an analogy that we're no different than a seed being planted in the earth. We're planted on
Right.
the in the grand scheme of things. And the difference between a plant and us is that seed will grow through the darkness. It needs to be nurtured the same way as we need to be nurtured, but it doesn't resist anything. It hits a rock, it'll grow through it, it'll grow around it. We hit something, we hit an obstacle or a challenge, and we get blocked. It's like we're in our
Abs-
head trying to figure it out instead of just keep moving forward, planting one foot in front of the other, be gentle, nurture more, and because that intellectual mind is what gets us into trouble.
And it's also, I mean, absolutely plugging into what you're saying because it's that transition. If we haven't done the healing work in the sacral chakra, which for me has become all around grief and stepping into and allowing myself to move through that grieving process, we can't root properly. We can't root into the earth. We can't become that seed because we're still holding on to all the other stuff that we brought in with us. And so that grief, what I really, if I have to sum up what grief meant to me, was the abandonment of myself. Forget
Mhm.
about all the other stuff that went on around me.
Oh,
The
the
real
story
grief,
around it. Yes.
yeah, yep. The real grief was that I'd abandoned myself. And when I talk self, I'm talking about the capital S, the soul self,
Yep.
not the me. Yeah, there's the abandonment of the me self as well. But it really is that I've abandoned my truth. And that's where the real grief sat. It was quite something to get there. Then the rooting is like you've had it this week. The rooting actually happened this week in the earth.
Uh-huh.
Was incredible,
Yeah.
incredible.
And yes, because we have stories around grief, right? Constructs around
Yep,
grief,
yep,
constructs around a lot of our emotions, actually. And the reality is, the emotions are something that we are meant to go through in this human experience. To discount or dismiss or try to disregard is futile. That we
absolutely.
are absolutely meant to feel them because they are teachers. The emotions are teachers. If we can learn to sit with the emotion, what a lot of people fail to understand is that they're feeding their emotions. Too many people look at their emotions like they're separate from themselves, that they can't control them, that they're bigger than them, and that is the absolute, you know, it's not the truth. It is a situation where the emotions are a teacher, and it's only gonna last as long as you're feeding it a story.
You know what's come up for me as you've been talking? We have as part of our logo the lighthouse. That lighthouse is symbolic of ourselves rooting and the light going on around us, not our crown chakra, it's our heart chakra. It's the emotions that are signaling to us as
Absolutely.
part of the light.
Yeah.
And just as you were talking, I could just kind of feel this lighthouse coming. Oh, that's what the light's all about. Um, because it is, and it's also the crossover. So if we go back to the infinity symbol and the figure eight, the crossover point is also the heart chakra,
Yes. Yeah.
which is
And
where we open.
and it's where we actually learn to live more authentically,
Correct, without a
right?
doubt.
And experiencing everything that we do experience in the human experience, when we're in that heart space for ourselves, we can move through things so much easier,
Yeah.
so much
That's where the
gentler.
flow comes. Yeah, and that's where the flow comes from because authenticity or flow is a product of authenticity for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, quite interesting. So I've been kind of, I don't know, changing tack a little bit. I've had quite an interesting experience this week with this whole, oh, what seems to be, and I say this with the greatest deal of respect because there's no right or wrong or anything. There's no judgment here, but there's this just incredible, almost trending of the fire horse energy coming in, but almost in isolation and almost as, it's not just about the exhale, it's almost like this fire horse is coming in to save me. That's the energy that I'm picking up reading a lot of the posts that have been coming through. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time on social media, I never do. But certainly a lot of what I did see was almost this aggrandizing of the fire horse. And how I sat with it this week was I actually took it back into the Native American Indian teachings. And I took the energy of fire, and I took the energy of the horse. And the horse in the Native American Indian teachings is all about power. and it's the right use of power. The fire energy, on the other hand, I need to just check it again because I've lost it. Um, Give me a sec, I'll find it. The fire energy and the fire medicine really takes us into the space of passion and spontaneity. So if we take fire horse, passion and spontaneity, and adding that into the right use of power, it's for me, it changed the energy completely around my understanding in my truth of what this whole vibration linking to the fire horse energy is. And it's a more mature use of fire. And then I delved a little bit deeper into that because again, everything is there's this nuance of everything flowing, and we've just come out of the snake year, and a lot of people going, "Thank you God, the snake year's over," and a little bit of drama around the snake year. And yet, if I look back on my year last year, and I'm sure Pamela, you could see the same thing, the amount of transmutation and transformation that actually happened through that year. And interestingly enough, the snake energy last year was the wood snake. And
Oh.
when I was doing some journaling this morning, what came up for me was, oh, the wood snakes brought a whole lot of kindling for the fire horse to activate.
Yes. And the horse, I mean, I think for people who have done their work, right? The horse is going to be a welcome thing from the perspective of moving us through things a little more quickly. For those of us
Yeah,
who haven't done the work, it might be overwhelming,
very much so.
right? So it's like, don't judge where you're at with it, people. Those of you who are watching, because you're in it exactly as you need to be in it, and to be gentle with yourself and loving with yourself as much as possible.
And also be discerning around what information you take in.
Yes.
Be very discerning as to not getting caught up in all the hoopla and the kind of rah rah and the noise around it. Just really listen to your solar plexus, listen to what your inner knowing is telling you.
Yeah.
That is more about what truth is for you, as opposed to being swept up in the kind of tidal wave of the energy that's out there. And,
Absolutely.
it's just, yeah, it's just endemic of the fact that so many people are searching. And yet the search is still outside of themselves as opposed to inside themselves.
Absolutely. And we all go through that. I've been through that,
Yep, yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Looking at, the stories that are around us, and I'm calling them stories because that's what they are. And they, depending on the person, that story is going to look a little bit different, right? So this is why we have to learn to
Mhm.
um, honor ourselves and our story, right? And leave people to their own story, because those stories are about growth for each and every one of us.
Yes.
What seems to be very extreme for those of us, for for those of you, those of us who are very sensitive, right? It's understanding that it has to be that extreme in order to reach some other people. So everything is happening exactly as it's um, orchestrated for the
Yep,
growth of humanity. And
yep,
I love seeing that there is a lot of growth. And in order for the darkness to be shown in the way the darkness is being shown right now, it means that there's a whole lot more light in the world. It's just not talked about.
yeah. The other thing for me as you're talking is that stories, and we all have them, as you've mentioned, they are the our attempt of trying to make sense of what's going on around us.
Yes.
And again, there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. They have served a purpose to get us all where we are. In many cases, many of the stories that we have protected us. And so in honoring the stories as opposed to judging the stories, we're then able to
Absolutely.
get to a point of integration. And that's what we're busy doing, is integrating those narratives, those stories that we thought were truth, but that are revealing truth. And that's the paradox, is they still revealing the truth.
They are revealing the truth. And the integration is very, very important. We are in the human experience. We are on this earth, right? And I remember a while ago thinking, everybody's talking about things changing, and that we're, the earth is going to be changing, and no, the earth isn't going to change, and the human experiences are not going to change. It's how we are all dealing with it that's going to change. It's how we are going to all step into that place of love, peace, acceptance. And I know that that has really evolved for me over the number of years, and it's happening for a lot of other people. And it's really beautiful when you can see people
Mm.
stepping into that. And then all of a sudden, what's going on around us, we're sending it love as opposed to judging it, criticizing it, talking bad about it, taking it on like it's bad or horrible. It is what it is, and it is for growth.
Mm. And also, as you're talking, what it's bringing to mind for me is the context that we're living in. And that context is changing. It is shifting because that's a normal part of growth. But if we don't understand what the context is, that's when we create the stories in an attempt to make sense of what's happening around us. And so the example I always use to kind of really explain context is it's like there's an exercise that I run with a group of people where I give them packets of a jigsaw puzzle. Nobody has the picture. Nobody knows what the picture is. They all have separate pieces. And of course, they'll try and build their jigsaw puzzle and just won't get anywhere. And all of a sudden, somebody will look up in the room and go, oh, somebody else has got some pieces. Maybe we can come together and start making sense of the picture. And they get a little bit of building done because they can see the colors and things. And then ask them what's missing. And somebody will go, we don't know what the picture looks like. That's what context is. And so the minute you present the jigsaw puzzle box picture to them, there's a whole lot of sense that gets made in terms of what they're engaging with. And that's the thing is, the more we understand the context, the less we're prone to create stories.
And that puzzle image is like the tapestry of life.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a very good representation of the tapestry of life. Everybody has a piece to our own puzzle. And it's like when we can invite those people in to help fill the pieces of the puzzle, we have a beautiful tapestry. So, all of our experiences, whether you want to look at them as good or bad or right or wrong, that is in itself going to create problems for you. I've been there. It's going to create more challenges, but it only means that there's some more growing to be done. But when you can invite those pieces in without the judgment, it's going to be amazing the tapestry that you start to see within your own life.
Which circles us back in the spiral back to unity. And so it's not life on this planet is not as complex as we think it is.
Not at
When
all.
we can peel back away the stories and we can get back to that core, like the lighthouse of truth, we can get back to that lighthouse. Life is actually pretty simple. Um, and again, coming back to the inner work that we do, it makes it so much easier to be accepting of people. It's like yesterday with my daughter being irritated and I'm irritated. She was just being herself. I was just being myself with no value judgment on it either. Before, the value judgment would have been going into the energy and getting into an argument and a discussion, which then needs to, or not even a discussion, but an argument, which then needs to be repaired instead of just stepping back and going, okay, she's having a moment. I'm having a moment. Don't have to engage right now. Um, and so little things like I can walk out the room, little things like something gets said and it kind of triggers me is, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. Or something like, I never
Isn't
thought
that
about it.
interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. You've given me a different perspective. And so we diffuse those potentially conflict-ridden situations just by taking the pause. And that's, I think, if I have to think about what 2025 meant for me, was the significance of the pause. Because not only is it diffusing, but the amount of learning that we open ourselves up to when we just do take a step back and take a breath and take that pause is incredibly empowering.
Yes, the pause we get to when we are less reactionary, when we're letting go of the emotional reactions, right? And that's what the inner work helps us with, is so that we come to
And I think
understand those reactions.
what's important that you're saying here is that we're not saying bypass the emotions.
That's right.
We say feel the emotions, feel through the emotions so that, and again, it links back to the somatic body relaxing and the
Yes.
nervous system dropping back in and getting out of the flight and fight mode and into the, okay, now I can respond. So we're not saying bypass the emotions.
No.
That's not what I'm saying at all. It's move through them.
And when we do move through them, it is easier to be in that pause, right?
Absolute.
As we heal, again, our core messaging, because a lot of it is stuff, and again, it's our lessons. And we never stop learning our entire life. I mean, at 64, I'm still learning lessons. I'm still peeling away layers, and I'm okay with that.
65, and that onion, those onion peels are still, I mean, those rings around the onion are still peeling away, and the minute you think you've got to the center, there's more layers to peel away anyway,
Absolutely.
because it is an absolute lifelong learning journey, and to kind of to if I have to think back, to think otherwise is actually quite naive, and again, that's not a judgment, it's just I always used to when I was younger, I used to think, "Is it when am I gonna get to the destination?"
And that
And
that is
then
true. Like, okay, when am I gonna learn the lessons? When am I gonna Well, you're learning all the time. It's like, and when we embrace that we're learning all the time, I love that. I remember going through high school, and the term of lifelong learning was something that was a big statement through high school. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. But it's not about academia. It really is about lifelong learning about
Yep.
ourselves. But we were taught academia because that's a really good distraction.
And we were taught about destination as well,
Yeah.
things like a goal has a destination.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, for some people that really works. For me, I mean, if anybody had to ask me again to write a SMART goal, I think I'd put bamboo nails underneath my fingernails. It just never, never, ever, ever worked for me or never resonated for me at all.
You
And
just gave
and
me truth bumps.
but again, without getting access to the acquired wisdom, that then turns into a judgment that I'm failing because I'm not meeting the SMART goal by the deadline and the timeline that I'd set for myself and the kind of pressure that I'd put myself under. And I think many people experience that. And I'm just grateful to get to the point today where all of that's gone. Don't have to let go. I don't have to embrace any of that. It's
Oh,
not to
yeah.
say I don't have purpose. It's not to say I don't have direction. It's not to say that I'm not working towards what whatever my higher power would have me to work towards. I've just relieved myself of all the pressure. All
Well,
that pressure's gone.
the pressure is gone, and what I've also learned is the goals not only add pressure, but they're a reason for us to beat ourselves up. Okay. I love now shifting it to intentions. So I don't do resolutions, I don't do goals. It really is,
Yep.
this is my intention. Show me the way, right?
Yep.
Work with me. You know my heart. Like, that's literally the things that I say to the universe or to God of your understanding. You know my heart. You know what you want me to be doing. I know what I would like to be doing. How can we bring a marriage together in that, and go with the flow and watch for the signs? And intention is everything. And
There's
any
something
time
else.
that I've set a strong intention, even though I didn't know how I was gonna do it, and the one that sticks out the most for me is I wanted to buy a house at the age of 50. I did not know how I was going to do it, but I set that intention, and I started looking with a real estate agent, and I think it was about 3 months, I saw about 30 homes, came upon one that I really liked, looked at crunching the numbers to see if it within the, pragmatic aspect, I can afford it and pay the bills and take care of it and live comfortably. And, I didn't take that house. I made a conscious decision that it's beautiful, but it's in an industrial area, and there was, like, someone like Sanford and Son living next door. So I'm like, "I don't really wanna look out my window and see that." So I chose not to get that house, but I continued my look. I did not have a down payment. I honestly did not know how I was going to get a home, but I set the intention. I found a home. It was a little bit over the price. I was sitting having a conversation after we looked at it, wasn't intending on putting an offer in or anything like that. But all of a sudden, in the middle of a conversation with this person, with this real estate agent, put an offer in at this amount firm. And I got my truth bumps from head to toe. I knew in that moment that that house was going to be mine. Still did not know how I was going to pay for it. And when I went to the bank with the real estate agent, a lady said to me, because I did not have a down payment, she said, "Is there a way that you can get a letter to get this house? A letter from your mom of an inheritance that she's going to give you $10,000." And I was like, "I'm gonna ask her." I said, "I don't know if she'll do it because I had a very tumultuous relationship with mom," but she did. She gave me the letter 'cause it was clear she didn't have to give me the cash right away. And taking that letter to the bank, they did creative financing and helped me to get my house. I got a line of credit
Incredible,
that literally
incredible.
covered my down
Mm,
payment, and I still have the home. But again, I'm explaining this because the intention is everything. We don't need to know how. And that is
mm,
hard for people to understand.
yep,
And that's just one example. I've got many examples in my life like that. So the goals never really worked for me because again, it set me up to put pressure and failure and all of that on me.
yep,
Where I just set this intention. I knew I needed to do this, and I knew I want not needed to. I knew I wanted to. It was a desire I had. It wasn't just for myself, it was for my children so they could have something, and it's proved to be extremely beneficial for everybody. But that is literally the intention and working with the universes and understanding
yep,
that we're co-creating together.
yep. Something that's come up for me and aligned with what you're saying is that there a frequency that's coming for me is expectancy, not expectation.
Yes.
And the expectancy is almost like that pregnancy, pregnant with opportunity, pregnant with potential.
Yep.
It's got the energy of gestation around it as opposed to the expectation, which again is a loaded, very loaded term.
Mhm.
And intentionality, and the two again oscillate between each other. Um,
Mhm.
so setting the intention is great, but also having that sense of expectancy
Yes.
that this will manifest itself. And so that's been quite an interesting experience as well. Just yeah, as I say, the infinity symbol's been very prevalent for me this week. In that oscillation of the flow and the meeting in the middle and that pause breath. Just been, yeah. And even if we think about the breath, that in
Mhm.
itself is an infinity symbol. In, pause, breathe out, pause. Our
Yes.
body self-regulates itself
Mhm.
with that cycle. And the more we are attuned to the cycles and the rhythms of the universe, the easier the flow,
Mhm.
and the less we have expectation of what's going on around us. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting week of a lot of clearing, a lot of I wouldn't even say reflection, just a lot of almost these very gentle ahas as lots of pieces have connected. So it feels like I've been living in Tetris today with all this week, with all the pieces just dropping into place. It's
That's
been quite
awesome.
powerful.
And that tapestry is coming together very nicely.
Yeah, very much so.
And
And sometimes at a pace that's quite quite alarming how fast it's going. Again, the energy, the shift in the energy of this week, the pace that things are coming through, and just I mean, 3 weeks ago, I felt discombobulated. I felt like I was spinning plates. Those were it might have been a little bit more than 3 weeks ago. Those were the 2 weeks where I just felt like I had nothing left to give, which is when I was not in our sacred circle.
right.
And I just felt like these plates were all over the place. And I didn't know which one to like, excuse the dog barking. Um, I'm at my daughter's house. Um, and then all of a sudden this week, the difference is those plates are all coming into alignment. Everything is dropping in from an aligned point of view. And it's just, oh, okay. And it's the amount of information that's come through this week is I got to try and find some time to go back and work it through because there's just been so much.
Mhm.
And yet at the same time, I know that I don't have to actually work it through because whatever piece I need is there for me to pick up on when I need
Absolutely.
it.
And when you need it, it will come up. Um,
Yep,
and so
yep, yep.
there's beauty in the chaos sometimes too, spinning all those plates. So when
There's very
people
much.
can
Yeah,
learn to relax in the chaos a little bit without attaching to it, that is extremely beneficial. I mean, again,
absolutely.
in this human experience, we are going through all these things to awaken our wisdom so that we can remember who we truly are
Yep.
and we can let our light shine to help other people get there too.
Couldn't agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. And I'm not sure, would that bring us to a close? I don't know that I have much more to say today.
That is awesome. Yes, that would be great. We can say our goodbyes.
We can do. So thanks to everybody who has been watching and listening. We'd love for you to leave comments and to possibly also create questions that you'd like us to explore. Because not only are we transmitting information from ourselves, but also in engaging with you, there are things that we don't know yet, and we can learn from you too. So, thank you, everyone, for joining us. As our circle closes for now, the light always remains, not just here, more importantly within you. Let these teachings, this conversation echo through your being like a lighthouse calls over the sea, steady, unwavering, and sovereign. And I look forward to spending time with you guys next week together with Pamela. And I think we've got Janice back with us. And that's from me. Love, light, and balance and grounding as these energies swirl around us. There is always order in chaos,
Mhm.
always.
Always. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave comments, questions. We'd be happy to answer them. Share if you feel the call to do so. We appreciate all of the support and love sharing this information with everyone. Until next week, thank you very much. Namaste.
Thanks, everyone. Namaste and thank you.